What's up guys, and welcome to my final video on EA FC 24. Yes, can you believe it? Where has the year gone? It feels like only last month we were beginning our first career mode on EA FC 24 with Luton Town, which is where we'll be starting this video off. And of course now the year has come to an end, and what a fantastic year it's been as well. So in this video guys, what you'll be seeing on the screen is the start, few things we won, the end of all the career mode saves I did. We'll be discussing them in brief detail, recapping the year, if you will, of career mode, and also talking about my plans for EA FC 25. But I do want to start off by saying thank you so much for the support on EA FC 24. You know, it really has been a fantastic year for me. I've really enjoyed the content I made throughout the course of the year. I'll be totally honest, I've been doing YouTube videos for 13 years now, and as I've mentioned before, there are many things we've done, there are lots of things we've done again, but this was a year really where I felt as though there was a lot of firsts in this year's career mode for me. I did a lot of things for the first time as well, but just in general, the love I still have for making videos remains at an all-time high. And I have you guys to thank for that as well. The game was very challenging for me this year. I went on record as saying it was probably the toughest version of the franchise I've ever played. I didn't win as much as I ordinarily do throughout my career mode saves, but I actually think that made it more enjoyable that way. It was a really good challenge for me this year. Really enjoyed it. But the support you guys gave me this year was amongst the most loved I'd ever felt making videos for YouTube. And so yeah, I can't say thank you enough for that, man. It really was a great year for me in terms of support from you guys. You know, not just with the views, but the comments, the likes, but also the messages I was getting on social media as well. It seems you guys really appreciated the effort I was putting in this year with my content. You know, for the first time, it was all fully live this year. You know, that's not something that was my style in years prior, but now has been the way I do things all the time because you guys requested it. So I was a bit out of my comfort zone, but I think in the end it proved to be the right thing to do because, again, the support was fantastic, the feedback was great, but just in general, the appreciation from you guys and the love I got was fantastic, and for that, very thankful. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy my final video of FC 24, which again is just going to be a recap of the career modes we did and the plans for EA FC 25. So beginning with the first career mode we did, I get asked all the time, you know, Doxy boy, what's your favourite career mode ever? Like, of all the career modes you've done on YouTube, we're talking well over 100 for sure, no doubt about it, in 13 years. What's your favourite one? Out of all of them, what's your favourite one? And I often say this, you ask me on a different day, you'll get a different answer. You know, maybe one day it will be the first one I ever did, you know, with Brighton and Spurs. Maybe on another day it will be, you know, my Millwall career mode in FIFA 14, because I was using my favourite team. On another day you might say a save I did in FIFA 20 with Sheffield United, for example. And on another day, I'll tell you it was this one. This was definitely one of my top 10 career modes ever, and possibly even top 5 thinking about it. And do you know what? I might even sneak it into the top 5 as well. This was a brilliant save. So it was my first one of the year, and of course the first one, let's be honest here, is always what you call the main one. You know, I get comments from people saying that I don't watch all of your career modes, but I always make time to make sure I watch the main one, you know, the first one you do. And this was a fantastic main career mode for me this year, if you will. So, of course, we began with Luton Town, the newly promoted side to the Premier League. And during the tenure there, we won the Champions League, we'd won the Premier League. I'm not sure if we won the FA Cup in the first round, but then we moved on to AC Milan. And then we joined Real Sociedad, and then we came back to Luton Town for what we called one last dance. And we spent 2 years there, and we managed to reclaim the Champions League. And it was also, fun fact, a bit of Docks trivia. Like I said, it was the year for me where I did a lot of things for the first time. This was my longest career mode save ever. Yep, in terms of seasons played, it was my longest career mode save ever. We did 13 years in total. I believe it was 6 with Luton Town first, 3 with AC Milan, 2 with Real Sociedad, and then 2 with Luton again to make 13 total. So it was my longest career mode save ever. We were 2 seasons away from actually completing and doing a whole career mode, which I've never done before. So we were very close to doing that. Who knows, maybe in EFC 25 we'll do that together. But yeah, 13 seasons, my longest career mode save ever, and no doubt about it, one of my absolute favourites as well. It's definitely top 10, not even close, but possibly even sneaking into the top 5. It was a brilliant, brilliant save. The love you guys gave me was fantastic on it. And I said during the save, I was going to do things a little bit differently. You know, I did a whole save live, but I also was making sure I signed players that I hadn't used before, or I'd barely used before, as I know it had been a bit of a criticism of mine in recent years, which was totally justified. And it was a tough save, but it was really, really enjoyable. I absolutely loved it, and it was a great way to start the EA FC year as well. Definitely, if not a top 5 career mode of all time for me, then certainly top 10. So after that save was done, we moved on to a new one in winter time, and this was the RTG career mode, where we began with Swansea City in South Wales. Now, I'd used Swansea before in a Football Manager save. That was really fun, but this one was my first time using them in a career mode, and this was a really enjoyable save as well. So we began in the Championship with the Swans, and we scored one of the most bizarre goals I'd ever scored. It was so funny because in the same episode, we had one of the most bizarre goals I'd ever scored, but also one of my best goals I'd scored in EAFC 24, and I think this is probably my best goal scored in EAFC 24. You know, throughout the course of the year, throughout every CM save we do, normally there's like one goal that stands out in a save, and sometimes one goal that stands out in a year. I think this is probably the best goal I've scored in EAFC 24. It was so funny how it came in the same episode as the one was the most bizarre, with the hand of Brandon, if you will, that handball. This was ridiculous. Now, as you guys know, free kicks is far from my speciality. I mean, I'm absolutely awful at free kicks. In fact, I'll go as far as saying I'm probably as bad at free kicks as I am as penalty shootouts. I mean, my ratio of scoring free kicks is probably even worse than my ratio of penalty shootout wins. So that's what made this even sweeter. Tattoo from about 30 odd yards, belting one in the postage stamp, clipping the post. I mean, it was absolutely unbelievable, man. What a goal. And I'll probably say, yeah, this save had my best goal scored in EAFC 24. So that made this save really, really fun for me. No, it included the best goal I'd scored throughout the course of the FC year. But this is a really fun save as well. It's my second one again of the FC year. Really, really enjoyed this one again. Felt I got some great support from you guys on this save as well. I always find RTGs, that sometimes, like, when I say an RTG as well, practically all of my saves are RTG, let's be honest, because we never really start with a big team. But when we talk about like pure RPG, starting outside of a top tier, for example, starting with a really poor team, I often find it can be hard to keep people around for the long term, you know, because you're starting off at a really, really low level. Fortunately, I didn't have that problem in this CM save. It feels like people really, really enjoyed the very first season where we began in the second tier, and then the slow, gradual climb to success as well. And of course, we got there in the end, winning a CL final over PSG. But this save did unfortunately teach me something which I was going to learn throughout the course of EAFC 24, which is that in this year's career mode, there is a bit of an issue with players requesting transfers very early. If you remember, we signed Evan Ferguson, who led us to that Champions League, became 90 overall in our save, Golden Boot winner. And he'd been at our club for about 8 weeks, and then he requested a transfer because he didn't play every single game. And that taught me a very harsh lesson I was going to learn throughout the course of this year's career mode. I thought this year's CM from EA was really, really good. I thought it was really, really decent. I like the inclusion of the coach management screen. I thought that was kind of cool. In terms of like team tactical shapes, if you will, I thought that was kind of pointless. Didn't really find that to really affect things at all. But that was one thing I really did not like from EA this year. The fact that players constantly requested transfers, even if they were your star players. Evan Ferguson won me the Golden Boot. He helped us win that Champions League. He was phenomenal throughout the year. He was my starting striker in practically every game, apart from a handful, but that handful unfortunately wasn't enough for Ferguson to not request a transfer. That was one thing I found quite frustrating throughout the course of this year's CM. Normally there's always one little issue for me I find within a career mode year. That was it for me. Players requesting transfers just a bit too frequently. I often say when it's situation specific, I really don't mind, but that is one thing which I'm really hoping gets resolved for EAFC 25. Players should not be requesting transfers as much as they do, even when they're star players as well. That was a major, major issue I found in this year's CM. But it was still a fun save regardless, and it continued as well. We went into the new year, we began our first what you call foreign-based save with Almeria, and now I often find for me that foreign foreign-based CMs don't do it as well, not just in terms of views, but sometimes I feel like people don't enjoy them as much as my CM saves starting within the English football pyramid, if you will. The irony, of course, was the last team we were using there was from Wales, but even so. And I don't know whether that's because I obviously have a much broader knowledge of English football as opposed to European football and foreign football. Let's just be honest here, Premier League career modes do tend to get more views on YouTube anyway. I don't know what it is exactly, but this is a foreign CM save, which people seem to really enjoy. Began with Almeria, and again, I did things a little bit differently in this year's save as well. In this save, I should say, within the career mode, which was that we had a different strategy with this Almeria team. Now, if you remember, we had 2 chances to win the title, and we blew them both. We blew 2 consecutive titles when we were leading by several points, about 2/3 of the way through the season. So I adopted a different strategy where basically heading into the final season with Almeria, where we also won the Champions League as well, which included one of my best ever Champions League final goals too, which I thought was a really nice touch as well. Gerard Deulofeu scoring an absolute beauty from range. I had this strategy with Almeria where it was like, just win the bankers. Like, just win the bankers. And the final season, if you watch that, you'll remember, we literally, against like Barca and Real and Atletico, we didn't field, backup sides, for example, but we didn't really mind too much whether we lost or not. We just had this strategy where it was like, win the bankers, beat your Las Palmases, beat your Cadizes, beat your Celta Vigos, whatever, and that will see us win the championship. And it was so cool how we totally changed things up in this save, and we flipped it. We did it on its head. Instead of saying we've got to win the big games, it was like, no, if we lose the big games, we don't care. Just win the games against, again, your Cadizes, for example, and we'll end up being champions. And in the end, we were. So I thought that was really cool how we changed the style up, changed the strategy for that final season, and it ended up giving us the success as well. So that was also a really fun save, my first foreign one of this year's career mode. Then we moved back for the next career mode to do things within the English football pyramid, starting in the Premier League, and this was my realistic career mode for EA FC 24. Now, every year I always do 1, if not 2, realistic career modes where the mentality and the primary objective, the primary goal, is not just to win, it's to keep it as realistic as possible. And they are amongst my favourite saves to do within a EA FC year because, listen man, massive football fan, have been since the age of 6 years old, as I assume we all are, really. Realism to me, as I often say, in career mode is basically impossible to attain, and it definitely is impossible to maintain. But when you do things with the primary goal of trying your best to keep it realistic with sale destinations, the signings you make, but also the level you get to teams, I really, really like that as well, because it means that you're not going to have, like I said, your RTG team starting in League 2 going on to win the Champions League. Is that realistic? Not quite. That means that you've got to make some tough decisions, which not everyone's going to like. What I have found from you guys, my audience, is that you seem to really like it when I try to focus more on the realism. And as a human being, I'm going to make mistakes. We all do. I certainly did within this save. But it feels really, really appreciated by you guys, and I do my best to keep things as realistic as possible. So it means that we got Bournemouth, for example, we started to save off with, to a Europa League final 3 years in. We won them an FA Cup as well, and I felt at that point we'd probably taken them realistically as far as they could go. I didn't think we could go any further and still call it realistic. So with that being the case, we then left to Liverpool, tried to get them back to their glory days, and we did do that, winning them a Premier League and a Champions League as well. But this was one of my favourite saves of the whole EAFC year as well, because to me, realism, as I mentioned a moment ago there, it's impossible to maintain within a CM save. You're not going to be able to do it because that's just the nature of how CM is. It's very wild. It's very crazy. It's very unpredictable, particularly with the transfer market as well. But I thought I did a really good job within the save. The feedback I got from you guys in the comments was fantastic as well. And it's amongst one of my favourite things to do. So for EAFC 25, I will be doing another what you call primarily realistic career mode, where the emphasis is not on winning every single trophy and taking a really small team and turning them into a European powerhouse, but trying to do things as realistic as possible. I'll be doing the same in EAFC 25, probably more than once, maybe twice as well, because again, this save went down really well. It was probably one of my most watched and enjoyed saves of the year for me. So I want to say a special thank you to those who watched that save, but also appreciated how I did things within that save, because when when I do a CM, I'm always really reluctant to move teams because I know there's going to be a bit of criticism. I know there's going to be a bit of, bit of fire, given to me. Oh, why did you build that team up to a decent level and then not take them further? But when I left Bournemouth in that save, people understood why. The emphasis was not on turning Bournemouth into a European powerhouse. It was getting them to a good level and then moving on to my next step and keeping it as realistic as possible. So the support I got on that save was fantastic, and for that I want to say a special thank you because that was really, really nice to see. I'm always, like I said, a bit scared, a bit nervous when I move teams, but on that save it was totally fine. But then we moved on to do another foreign save. This was the Bundesliga CM with FC Klein. I was so excited to use this team as well for the first time ever because they're a really, really big team in Germany, FC Klein, but of course recently haven't been as what you call good as in years prior. So using this team for the first time, I was really excited. I got great kits, but also the stadium as well. It's one of my favourite stadiums in EAFC 24. I get asked quite often, like, what's your favourite stadium to play at? Honestly, FC Cologne Stadium is so cool with the pillars in the corners. It's a really, really cool stadium. Beautiful city Cologne as well, and again a big German side too. And this save also featured one of my latest CL final winners ever as well. Like I said, this year EAFC 24 had so many firsts for me, so many things I've done for the first time or new kind of records, if you will. This was the latest CL final winner I'd ever had outside of a penalty shootout. Jan Tillman in the 3rd minute of stoppage time and extra time, the latest winner I'd had in a CL final ever outside of a penalty shootout. So again, it was really cool how we're doing all these firsts here, and it included in this save where I also set a defensive record in the Bundesliga the first time ever, so that was really cool too. So yeah, really, really cool save, really, really enjoyed it. It's only 4 seasons in, but again, as a foreign-based save, like I said before, oftentimes I do find them to be not as well received as my Premier League or English Football League saves, and again, maybe that's because of my knowledge being better of English football, but even so, it still went down really, really well, and I appreciate that as well. So yeah, just in general, the saves were fantastic, and the final 3 you'll see were of course the Premier League career mode, the Serie A career mode, and the summer career mode. And I'll kind of address these 3 as a combination as I'll talk about my plans for AFC 25 whilst you'll be watching the gameplay as well. The Premier League career mode, funny enough, did actually feature what was my final Champions League win as well in EAFC 24, and I did not think I'd be saying that knowing I still had 2 more career modes to go, but unfortunately life and gaming and football is very unpredictable, so this actually featured my final Champions League win of EAFC 24, but I guess it kind of showcased just how hard I'd found this year's version of the franchise, the fact that I did 2 more career modes after this and I couldn't get another CL win. In EAFC franchises past, in former FIFAs, in former FCs if you will, I do another 2 career modes, I'll probably win another 4 Champions Leagues, do you know what I mean? But in this year, it was obviously different. This ended up being the final CL I'd win. But anyway, the reason why, again, this one was quite an interesting one was because I planned to move on during this save, but it was so funny because I'd used Fulham twice before for a career mode on YouTube and also a Football Manager save, and they both ended abruptly. I was like, in this save, no way. I'm finishing what I started. 3rd time's the charm with Fulham, and we did as well by, again, winning that Champions League. But yeah, my plans for EAFC 25 is to be watching through the final 2 saves coming after this one here with Udinese and the Serie A career mode, and also very briefly on this one as well. I often say, like, for me, there's always like one save I do throughout the course of an FC or FIFA year that doesn't quite live up to the standard. It doesn't quite hit the mark. That's just how things go. You can't always get it right. Unfortunately for me, that was the Serie A career mode this year. Like, the year before, it was a Bundesliga CM I did with Arminia Bielefeld. All the other saves I really enjoyed, but that career mode, didn't really get into it. That was the Udinese career mode in this year's FC for me. I enjoyed all of my saves this year, but as I always say, I'm very, very honest. I'm very transparent. I'll tell you the full story, and I won't sweep things under the rug, and I'll be totally transparent about my thoughts and feelings as well. I didn't really enjoy the Udinese career, if I'm being honest. Like I said, there's always one. There's always one every single year. And I literally had like 2 CM saves to go, and I was like, I've liked everyone I've done. I hope that continues all the way through, but I knew probably one of my final 2 saves wouldn't really hit the mark. Unfortunately, that was the Udinese crew. And I did try. I did really try it. Tried to make it enjoyable. We had the Super Gash Bros, play on word, the Super Smash Bros, the Albanian brothers in the team. We had the cheat code Jacobio, but it just didn't really work out the way I wanted it to. But one of those things, not every save's going to hit the mark. Unfortunately, didn't really enjoy this one as much, but I do appreciate those that were watching with me whilst I was going through in the Serie A. I think one of the reasons why, for me, totally honest here, is because of the licensing. I said before, the Serie A is a great league to manage in, but when you've got Bergamo, Calcio, and Lazio, and next year it's going to be even worse with Milan and Inter losing their licensing, it does kind of break away from the immersion, doesn't it? It does kind of break away from the realism, and as you guys know, it's quite important to me and my saves, so I think that's maybe one of the reasons why, if I can use a little excuse, but even so, for EAFC 25, though, like I said, there will definitely be more the same in terms of career mode, and this year I kind of like trialed doing everything live and seeing how you guys would appreciate it. Would you miss the post-com? Would you prefer the live audio? I think I got my answer pretty early on. It seemed as though everyone seemed to really enjoy the live audio, which again is a bit out of my comfort zone for me, but it is something that people seem to really enjoy the most. So for the new year, don't worry about that. I'm not going to revert back to post commentary. I think that's kind of gone now on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? I think that era's kind of gone, and we've sort of transcended from that style of gaming videos. So yeah, I will keep it live for EAFC 25 as well, no doubt about that. I'll definitely be looking to do more than just the one realistic career mode that I did this year with Bournemouth and Liverpool. Again, that save was really well received from you guys. It does mean I've got to make tough decisions. It does mean I've got to make decisions which may not seem the best in terms of strategy, if you will, for success, but I think it is the right way to do things if you want to keep it realistic. So yeah, I would like to do more than just a one realistic career mode for next year as well, but also I would really like to do another creator club and also another player career mode as well. I did not do a player career mode this year, but I've said before, I get asked all the time, my favorite save on YouTube. My player career mode in FIFA 23 is amongst my all-time favorite saves ever. If you've not watched it, guys, please, if you've got a bit of time over the next few days before EAFC 25 goes out, please do give it a watch. I was so proud of that save, man. I really enjoyed making it for you guys. I would like to do another player career mode again. I didn't do one this year, but I'd also like to do another creator club. I've only ever done one, but because of the new list of scoutable nations and so many as well, I love the idea of doing a creator club, but using a nation which, again, doesn't really have much in the way of talent or even just players in the database as well. I don't want to spoil it. I've got an idea for that. Very excited to give it a go. And I would say this, if you're hoping for some different things and not just manager CMs, which is practically all we did throughout the course of EAFC 24. Of course, that will be my most sort of made content, if you will, manager CMs, but Creator Club, got a really cool idea for that. I'd like to give it a go. And also, again, a player CM as well. I get asked about club and countries. Again, don't want to spoil it, but we might see the return of that next year. We might not, we might do, but again, I don't want to spoil it. It might also tie into the Creator Club as well. I guess we'll see, but yeah, I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, I've got some cool plans for EAFC 25. But of course, once again, what I do want to say is I hope your support continues as well, because throughout EAFC 24, probably my most supported, appreciated, and loved year on YouTube, and that is unbelievable after 13 years. So guys, thank you so much for the year on EAFC 24. We did so many great career modes. It was so much fun. But in general, the support and the feedback from you guys was fantastic. So from the bottom of my heart, as I always say to end every video I do, including my final one on EAFC 24, much love to you all and thank you for watching. It's been a great year. I've really enjoyed it. And I hope we have a great EAFC 25 for content as well. Thank you as always, guys. It's been a great year. And here's to the next one. Much love. And I'll see you for my first career mode episode on EAFC 25 very soon.